Hey everybody, Chad Wesley Smith here, bringing you another episode, Beers with Chad. Today I'm drinking Three Weavers Expatriate IPA. Let's see, what can I say about this? Yeah, so 6.9% IPA, standard CWS procedure. Cheers. You'll notice a new location. This is our new podcast Jug Life Studio YouTube studio room. Did this nice wood accent wall in my new house. So cheers to that as well. And so I'm sure you'll be seeing a lot of this wooden wall in the weeks, months, and years to come. So, before we get into it, I want to say thank you to this week's Jug Life sponsor, Purple Mattress. So very comfortable. If you're getting bad night's sleep, that's going to negatively affect your work, your training, your mood. So you can visit purple.com/juglife and get some free stuff with any order. So check them out, support them because they support us and make this stuff possible, even though this would probably be possible in either way because I'm just drinking beer on my couch. If you haven't checked out this week's episode of the Jug Life, it's a Q&A that Max and I recorded last week when we were up in Calgary, and we answered a number of questions. Talked about how to train for jiu-jitsu. Max talked about the value and role of complexes in weightlifting training, so like clean plus front squat plus jerk, and the sort. And we had a really good discussion, I think, on what makes a good coach and some of the people who we really respect as coaches currently in powerlifting and weightlifting. So go check that out. That is Jug Life episode number 99 of the regular type of episodes, not bonus or Beers with Chad type of things. So it'll actually be in 2 weeks, the week of 4th of July / the week of my birthday. We will bring you the 100th episode of the Jug Life, so look forward to that. So as I mentioned, we just got back from IPF Worlds in Calgary. Overall, some fantastic lifting. Sunday, watching Ray Williams, he was incredible. The 105s class with Bryce Lewis and Garrett Blevins and Christoph Wierzbicki was great on Saturday. The 63 women's class, Jen Thompson, Sam Calhoun, Maria Hati, tons of good stuff there. I had two lifters competing. The Master of Disaster, Joanne Ada, took bronze in the 63 kilo Master 1 class. That's 40 to 49 years old. She's 48 and was the oldest person in that division. She had a big PR squat. A little bit of loss of concentration on a bench attempt cost us a PR there. Still matched it, just did it very easily, and had to be aggressive in the deadlift. And then, of course, Marissa. Marissa took silver in the total in what was a frustrating day in a lot of ways. It started off very, very frustrating, and we had to play catch up throughout, and weren't quite able to catch up. So congrats to Joy Nanami. Marissa did hit a very strong 97.5 kilo bench, 215. Great fight with 190 kilos on the deadlift, which at the time would have put her in first, but wasn't quite able to finish it. But most of the issues there arose from the squat. And if you were watching her session, Marissa missed her opening squat 2 reds to 1. The left judge, I believe, and the front judge reds. And that was at 140 kilos. And then she came back to make 142.5. Good lift 2 to 1 on her second, and then missed 147 on her third. So getting into that lends me right into this first discussion of it, and it's the judging. I've watched a lot of powerlifting. I've watched a lot of squats in my lifetime, in the USAPL, the IPF, the SPF, the GPC, the USPA, and all these places. Coached some of the best lifters in the world and lifted some of the biggest weights in the world. I'm very confident that I know what a good squat looks like. When Marissa took her first squat, 140 kilos, let's say my diagram here, and this won't be great for the people listening at home, but Marissa was here. I was about 10 feet back and to the right of her, maybe 5 feet behind her, 3 to 5 feet behind her, 10 feet away. The judges were sitting all up here. The judges were sitting in a way that to me would make it very difficult to judge the squat. There was someone in front, the center judge, but the side judges, and I'm making air quotes there for the people listening to the audio, the side judges were really, it was like that one was in center field, one was in right field, and one was in left field, to use baseball terms, where if Marissa is, or let's say Marissa is the pitcher's mound, she's squatting on the pitcher's mound, we need someone on first base, second base, and third base, but that wasn't the case. We had like someone, straight ahead of her, someone about 20 degrees to the right of that and 20 degrees to the left, but far back, not nearly to the side of her. So I watched this 140 opener from my vantage point, a very good vantage point to judge the squat, in my opinion. And I didn't even bother looking at the lights. I don't know if you could see me in the live stream or whatever, but she stands up with 140, and right away I turn and I'm signaling across the platform to Susie Gary, who was at the scorers table, like, let's go up. It was, look good. 147.5, our planned second. Let's go to it. And Susie kind of looks at me like, what are you talking about? We can't do that. And I'm like, yeah, it's good. Good, 147.5, let's do it. And then someone says to me, like, she missed it. And I look at the lights and I'm like, what the hell? That's how good I thought the first squat was. I didn't think that, I didn't even bother looking at the lights. I thought it was so good. And that just changed, her technique going forward, because at that point we realized we had to squat excessively deep, in my opinion, beyond the rules, to satisfy the vantage point of judges who were not in the right place, and a center ref who must have given reds to 60 to 70% of the squats in the session. I was told that she had just taken her category 2 IPF test that week, like 2 or 3 days before this session, and she clearly wanted to prove a point that she was a very tough judge, because she comes out on the next lift. Marissa comes out on the next lift, makes 142.5, good lift, 2-1. Whites from the side judges, red from the center. And you can definitely see on the live stream in that I look to the center judge with a look of like, what the fuck are you doing? Because what the fuck are you doing? If both side judges think that it's good, even though they're sitting in a shitty place, in my opinion, if they both think it's good, what could the center judge see that they couldn't see? And some of it I think goes to that USAPL and IPF judges, I think, tend to certainly favor a more upright squatting style, and Marissa definitely leans over more. But if your hip goes below the crease of your hip goes below the top of the knee, no matter how leaned over you are, that's a good squat. And when you're sitting more in the front, or even from a front 3/4 view, it's very tough to judge the hip of a more leaned over squatter, even someone in a small weight class. So that was very frustrating. And if Marissa makes the 147.5, then she's can pull 187.5 on our third deadlift, which would have made a 432.5 total. And I believe she would have defended her world championship. But those were the breaks. The other thing that frustrated me about the judging was you see judges already sitting in what I think is a bad spot, and then they're just sitting up in their chair, just like they're just hanging out, rather than, at least if you're going to sit in a shitty spot, at least kind of lean down, try and try and get a good angle at the hip, not sitting straight up, looking down at it. It's, you know, the judges at the U.S. Open caught a lot of grief about inconsistent judging, and I think that there was some merit in that. But I will give it to those guys. They're down on their hands and knees at the side, you know, fighting through the spotters to get a good look, to get the best look that they can. So that was frustrating. So I quickly want to talk about how they can make the meet better, how to make IPF Worlds better. The quality of lifting is fantastic, and this is the third 3 in a row years that I've been to IPF Worlds with Marissa. Killeen, Texas 2 years ago, last year Minsk, Belarus, and this year Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And this was the best one, best venue, best stage, all of that. But there's certainly room for improvement. I got to Calgary on Thursday evening of 2 weeks ago for Joanne to lift on Friday, and then Marissa lifted the following Wednesday, and then it went on until this past Sunday. So I believe that the meet went either from Tuesday to the following Sunday or Wednesday to the following Sunday. So like 11 or 12 days long, and that creates a number of issues that I think stops them from having as high quality a meet as possible and being able to showcase the best lifting in the world, which they do have without a doubt in the open class. So the first thing they need to do is they need to separate masters, juniors, and senior or open class lifters into 3 different events. The masters should have their own worlds, the juniors should have their own worlds, and that would go such a long way to it because it would cut the number of competitors in a third. And instead of having to have an 11-day event, you could have a 3-day event. And instead of Marissa lifting at 1 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon where no one's going to come and see 2 of the best lifters in the world, Marissa, Inda, and Joy Nanami, battle it out, now those 52 kilo class lifters could be on like a Friday night. And you know, the lightweights on Friday and the middleweight lifters on Saturday and the heavyweight lifters on Sunday. And all of those top open lifters who work so hard could, you know, be able to showcase their abilities in the best situation possible. The venue, we were in a volleyball, club volleyball gym, you know, and it worked okay. Early in the week when it was very warm in Calgary, it was hot as shit in this place with no air conditioning. You know, that's limiting the athlete's ability to lift lift the most weight possible. And granted, it's the same for everyone, but you know, we shouldn't have dead, you know, no air movement, no fans even in the back room, and making these lifters deal with that. So that's frustrating. And I think a lot of the poor venue situations, Belarus was in like this hockey rink. It was kind of weird. Killeen was total shit. Is because it's tough to find a venue that you can rent and afford, you know, one that's just available for a 12-day stretch. And then even if it's available, then that you can actually afford it. But if something is 3 days long, you know, so maybe you need to rent it for 4 days, including the setup, there's such better venues, you know, whether that's hotel ballrooms, better convention centers, that kind of stuff, things that are much more well suited to being comfortable for the audience, for the lifters, for everything. It's just, it would be so much better to separate those, give the juniors their own event, the masters their own event, just like they do in weightlifting, you know, where powerlifting aspires to be in the Olympics. Again, pipe dream, not going to happen, but let's do that and put them at separate events so the open class lifters can be showcased the way that they deserve. So that would make for a shorter meet, which would allow for a much better venue, a better schedule to showcase all that. You know, they do a great job with the live stream. Huge kudos to the IPF in that regard. Live stream is fantastic, multiple angles, super, super professional. But yeah, it would be so much better. A 3-day event, you know, goes from Friday afternoon on through Sunday evening, and everyone could get viewed, because it's, you know, it's great for those Saturday and Sunday lifters. And you could see on the live stream for Ray Williams, the place was packed. But on Wednesday afternoon, who the fuck is going to show up? It's impossible. So that was frustrating. They did have a much better stage setup. It was an elevated stage and a good backdrop and all that stuff, a decent backdrop. Certainly some corners cut, things like the training hall, which was a training closet. I know that for powerlifting, the week of training is not as significant as it is for weightlifting, but you see these Worlds training hall videos for weightlifting, and it's just an endless sea of Eleiko platforms. Well, Marissa did her last session alongside Sergey Fedosienko in the fucking closet of the Deerfoot Casino in Calgary, like a legitimate storage closet, maybe 15 by 10 feet with one combo rack in it, a piece of plywood on the floor for a deadlift platform, all the empty boxes that had the plates in it shoved into the corner, so trash sitting around. So get a sponsor, get Rogue or Eleiko or ER or whoever. You're the biggest meet in the world. Get them to give you 3 racks for that and have good equipment in that. They don't have the same equipment in the back room as they do on the platform. The meets I've been fortunate enough to do in Australia, Big Dogs and Pro Raw, kudos to Marcos and Emad that they do a great job of that. At Big Dogs, not only is it identical equipment in the back as it is on the platform, so hole spacing, the exact feel of the bench, all that kind of stuff. They also have designated loaders in the back that you just give them your warm-ups. So if you're the biggest meet in the world, be professional about it. So that was IPF Worlds. Great lifting, but they can do so much more for the sport. And if the IPF is really serious about trying to be in the Olympics, that's what they need to strive to do. This weekend, Max and I will be in Texas. Our Friday event at Arlington Strength is all full, but Saturday, D-Town CrossFit in Dallas. We have a free snatch clinic and then a Jug Life Live, so come check that out. Learn from us. That'll be great. Then on August 19th, the Performance Summit on Long Island. Mike, Max, Quinn, Dr. James, and myself. All the things you need to know in one day. It would be, if you're serious about training, don't miss it. Plus, you can get CEUs for the NSCA. If you're interested in coaching for powerlifting, weightlifting, strongman, super total, or power building, check out juggernautcoaching.com. We have multiple different levels and some of the best coaches in the world to do that. If you love the Jug Life, go on iTunes, leave us a 5-star review, write us something funny or nice. We always appreciate seeing that, and it helps more people find the show. Thanks again to Purple Mattress. Check them out at purple.com/juglife. Sleep better, recover better, feel better, plus support the Jug Life and Beers with Chad. I'm Chad Wesley Smith, at Chad Wesley Smith and at Juggernaut Training on Facebook and Instagram, filling up your newsfeed all day. This was another episode of Beers with Chad. Cheers. I'll see you next week.